I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for July 26, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Attendance roll call.
Alderpersons Wolf,
Here.
Hamel,
Here.
Kubaki.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Public meeting notice.
This meeting has been noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from June 28th, 2022.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. 2021 Audit Presentation. Hello.
Hello. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Wendy Younger. I'm the partner responsible for the city's audit engagement. You should have in your packet of information a one-page handout. I'm going to use that document to go through the financial information at a very high level. Happy to answer any questions as we go through, so please feel free to ask. So included on that presentation, as part of the audit process, we issue two separate documents. One is your audited financial statements, and one is your reporting and insights document. Included in your audited financial statements is a auditor's opinion. That auditor's opinion states that the financial statements are believed to be materially accurate, that all disclosures that are required to be included have been included, that generally accepted accounting principles had been adhered to, that is referred to as a clean, unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that you can obtain from us as your auditors, so a very positive result on the opinion side for 2021. Before I get to some high-level financial information, just want to quickly touch on the reporting and insights document. We use that to communicate any comments or recommendations that may come up as part of the audit process. Included in there continues to be a comment regarding decentralized cash collection points. That's just a reminder for you. Also included in there are some new accounting standards that will be effective for the city. One of them that I'm just going to quickly mention, GASB 87, is the treatment of leases, which will be effective for 2022 and could have a significant impact on the financial statements for 2022. So we'll work with Sharon and her team to make sure that the city is in a position to implement that. The rest of that document really is standard and customary communication that we need to have under our standards. One other item I will note is that very happy to say that we continue to have no material weaknesses noted in the city's internal controls. We look at those as part of the audit process, and there was nothing that came to our attention during that review or testing that heightened to the level of material weakness. Also very happy to say as part of the audit process, we had no material audit adjustments that came up during our audit. Again, a very positive scenario. Switching to the financial highlights, again, very high level. I encourage you all to take a look at the management's discussion and analysis. That's included on pages 4 through 13. Very high level cliff note version of what occurred at the city during 2021. Just quickly mentioning the government-wide financial statements. Those are your top side full accrual statements. Those are not the statements you use to manage your organization, but I will note that that MD&A, that management's discussion and analysis, really is the analysis of those top side statements. Those top side statements show a decrease in revenue, show an increase in expenses. Main reasons for those, less capital contributions from the utility standpoint, and also additional expenses related to adjustments required for your pension and OPEB obligations that the city has in its books. Switching to the general fund, your day-to-day operating fund for the city, revenues came in under budget by roughly $374,000. However, also your expenses came in under budget by $373,000. You budgeted to break even. You budgeted for no addition of fund balance, ultimately added $118,000 to the general fund balance. In a moment, I will touch on what that balance is as of 12/31/2021. The sewer and water utilities, the sewer utility saw a decrease in that position for 2021. Water saw a slight increase in that position of $428,000. Sewer saw some additional grant revenue coming through from MMSD, saw a decrease in investment income, and that's kind of a popular scenario in your statements. General fund also saw investment income come in under budget. Capital contributions, again, as I noted previously, were down compared to previous years. However, the sewer also had $490,000 less expenses than the previous year, and that really relates to the lift station and the capacity design work that was done in the previous year that did not occur in 2021. The cash position in your sewer utility at year end, almost 16 million, 11 million of that is restricted for particular purposes. Part is equipment replacement, but a majority is your RCA and WCA monies. Cash saw an increase of over $1 million in 2021 within your sewer utility. Water, again, as I mentioned, had an increase in that position of $428,000. Charges to customers were up $100,000. Expenses remained relatively flat. Contributions, again, capital contributions down 1.2 million, and that's just based on what's going on within the city. Cash at year end, 2.86 million, of which 2.1 million is restricted. Again, most of that RCA and WCA, 1.8, and then 300,000 are reserves that are required to be set aside based on your debt agreements. Water utility did see, though, an increase in cash of $632,000. Long-term obligations, there's extensive footnotes included within your financial statements that highlight the various components of that. One of your largest pieces are the general obligation debt that exists within the city that equates to roughly $37 million as of 12/31. There was no new borrowing done in 2021, and the city paid off roughly $3.3 million of principal during the past year. One item I do want to just note is that an important part of the footnote includes communicating the capacity you have for borrowing. The city can borrow 5% of its equalized value. That equates to 184, almost 185 million as of the end of the year. And again, as I mentioned, you only have you have 37 million outstanding. So the difference between those two, roughly 147 million is your borrowing capacity. The last item that I've noted on the handout, your net position and your fund balance categories, again, extensive footnotes included within your document, but the one area I do want to highlight, I mentioned there was an addition to fund balance within your general fund of $118,000 that ended your year in the general fund at almost 7.9 million. Of fund balance. There's a small portion that's non-spendable, but the largest portion of that fund balance is noted as unassigned within your footnote. The city does have a policy to maintain at least 17% of the subsequent year's expenditures within that category, so you are definitely in compliance and have some additional funds there for contingencies and working capital type needs. At the very bottom of the handout, I have included my direct line, my email address. Happy to talk with any of you. I know I go through this very quickly and at a high level. But again, at this point, I would be happy to answer any questions anyone has about the documents, the process.
Going forward, in the water utility, was that an anomaly this year, or is that going to be an ongoing type of thing?
The addition to cash? Or the additional net position?
The net position.
I don't know that it is.
Well, we paid off
Microphone.
Debt.
Okay.
Microphone.
Or the debt has been, the debt has been transferred to the general operating obligation bonds. So we no longer have certain restrictions and reserves we have to keep in place. So we're able to, we do not have to utilize those reserves, I guess, on hand. So you saw an increase.
Okay. So
So going forward,
yeah.
I'd say it'd be a little less, maybe closer to 200,000 maybe.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It would also depend on kind of capital expenditures we do
Correct.
for infrastructure, which we're going to be looking at that in the next year or so.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from anyone else? Thank you. Did you guys have anything to add? No? All right. All right, moving on, license approvals. There is none. New business. Recommend approval of a purchase of a virtual reality simulator.
Move to approve.
Inside your packet, there's some information from the chief on what's pretty much going to be a new way of training police officers going forward. It's pretty outstanding, neat piece of equipment that allows you to get officers into real world situations. Right now, when they have these simulators that they go through now, it's almost a script. After they run through them a few times, they kind of know what's going to happen. This one can change based on the field training officer standing at a keyboard right next to them. They have a VR helmet on. They're using weapons that have the same weight and everything. They're actually airsoft guns, but they feel the same as a regular weapon. So they have them on their holster. They may walk into a house, a domestic dispute, a business. The detail in the simulator is so that if you walk into like a bar, you can read labels on bottles inside. But the key part on this is it's very realistic. It can change, so they're based on interactions that the officer is giving to the subject that he encounters in this virtual world. It can give him different scenarios on how to react, and they can react accordingly. The way they're paying for it is they got a grant from the state, which covers most of it, and the balance is being covered by the Citizens Police Academy alumni club that's covering up the balance very generously. So, any questions?
And a nice discount on the first time purchase too.
Yes, yeah, the chief did a good job of knocking it down. They did a demo for the officers and myself and some staff members. It's like standing on a building, looking down, you actually kind of get that feel like you're up there. I didn't think of it at the time, but Jake and IT actually jumped off the building, and he said he felt his stomach kind of go up. It's so realistic. So we're one of the first areas to do that. In fact, I mentioned you can map different buildings for this. So like if a business like say Impro wanted to have their building mapped in there so the police train in that if there's ever an episode in there, it's not terribly expensive, but they could pay to have that map so the police are used to it. We could do our schools. I mentioned it to the schools today when we met with them about their new building project coming up, that this is something they may want to consider also. So, any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Continuing on, recommend approval of an agreement terminating a termination and rec agreement between the city of Muskego and the Village of Muskego Lakes Partnership.
Motion approved.
Second.
So this was talked about a few weeks ago in the closed session regarding how we wanted to handle this agreement and the funds that were paid into it. So essentially what we're going to do is refund the money and end the agreement as we discussed. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Recommend approval of a dedication of a public improvement for P-Girl LLC.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion and questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Recommend a letter of approval for letter of credit reduction for P-Girl LLC. And I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, so I'm sorry.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Voucher approval.
Motion to approve utility vouchers in the amount of $98,297.27.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
There are no tax vouchers. Motion to approve general fund vouchers in the amount of $336,538.87.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Motion to approve wire transfers for payroll in the amount of $387,899.50.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you. Finance Director's report.
The Finance Quarterly Report, there's just a couple updates in regards to the upcoming election on August 9th. The absentee ballot returns are significantly less than prior elections. We've received about 650 ballots so far. However, this may change with in-person voting, which began today and will continue through Friday, August 5th. The electronic poll books have finally arrived. This was delayed for over 4 years due to technical issues that the Wisconsin Election Commission had to resolve. Implementation will probably happen in the 2023 spring election. The Board of Review meeting for owners to file a property assessment objection took place last week, and the good news is there were no objections. The other positive update is despite the deferred license approvals, we are pleased to report all establishments were in possession of their license by the June 30th deadline, thanks to our Deputy Clerk Carey's excellent teamwork and organizational skills.
Wow. Someone's buying lunch tomorrow.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
And lastly, the second quarter general fund operating results are still on track within the budget and virtually identical to the prior year expenditure total of 54%, which is mainly due to the conservative budgeting and the authorized levy increase.
Any questions? All right. Hearing none. Any communications or any other miscellaneous business? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 6:46. Sorry, 5:46.